7 p.m.
Okay. And the first one for citizens' comments tonight is Randall Rossi.
I would like to wait till after Chris makes his comments.
Okay, Chris Klemko.
Chris Clemco with County County Fair. We're looking at putting up a set of grandstands, taking down our existing ones and putting up a new steel and aluminum grandstand structure. And I just had a couple questions on the permit fees. I thought were a little bit outrageous when I got a call from the building inspector today. It goes upwards of about $12,000.
I can speak to that as soon as he's done. Go ahead, Chris. Then I'll.
Typical systems like what's going to be put up are substantially less. And the inspector said he thought it was a little high too, and they're kind of going off of like a commercial building, and this really isn't. I mean, it's a grandstand. So I guess I was looking to see if there was any way of classifying it different, so it's a lot less relative. Typically, these are about $1,500 for a permit for one of these. So in the past,
Now, are you planning to do this?
starting September 11th.
Oh, okay, okay.
So one of the things that Ellis actually called me about, our building inspector earlier, and he said that obviously our permitting fee schedule was based on square footage. He said $12,000 is crazy. He did talk to, I think I'm not sure if it was you, where he did talk to the contractor that's putting them up. He said that the fees, he said normally there are probably 3 to 5 inspections involved. He thinks we should reduce that fee to around the $2,500 fee. That was just his quick answer. I spoke to Rich about it earlier today, and Rich said that obviously there is nothing in our ordinance that would allow us as staff. It would have to be a board action to reduce that fee. And again, Ellis is in favor of that, because he also agrees with Uncle that $12,000 is ridiculous based on the square footage, based on only four inspections or whatever.
Okay,
But that would have to be at a future meeting. It's not only.
correct. Mike?
Mike, is there anybody else that inspects those besides us?
They're state approved building plans. So I'm not sure if the state, I'm assuming they do, but and obviously there's a certification process that goes along with it.
There is a third party company that has to come in once a year and inspects the features. Once they're put up, they will come in and certify that they meet all their codes.
Okay,
Set forth by the state. So
that's fine with me.
And this is actually, even with the old bleachers that are there now, they still come in and inspect them every year before you do anything, correct?
yep. So basically, we're taking down what is there and just putting up new.
So would you like to be on the agenda for September?
When is that meeting?
The second Monday of the month.
Like the 12th, I think.
I think it's the 11th,
September 12th,
12th.
which is a Monday.
Yeah, I would like to be put on that. That's
I would also like to request if we do happen to have a special meeting or early meeting before that, I'll get a letter from Ellis for documentation purposes. And maybe just to keep them busy, maybe we could put together a meeting in a week or so real quick.
Sure.
that would be great because
Are we gonna have a cow meeting on?
Right now, we don't, right now, we don't, right now, we're not, yeah.
I wouldn't be able to meet really quick to try and,
I'll put something together and send out there.
In the next even week or so.
Sure, in the next week, I'd like to get it done for them as soon as possible, so we know what those fees are up front. So
Yeah, if we can get all that and we can get some dates, send some dates.
To the community, so I'll get that out I'll get that out this week, so the next couple of days, I'll pick a couple of dates, maybe we can get together one evening for 20 minutes and special meeting.
appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, you're welcome. Randall, did you need to add?
Yeah, I have one question. Just questioning the timing of our fire inspector coming out. I've been getting a lot of calls. Some of these buildings at the fair aren't owned by the fair. Kiwanis booth, Shoreland booth, and have a building there. And he inspected today and he shut some of them down. My question is, why did they come just before the fair? It starts a day from now. Shut a couple of them down because don't have the proper hoods or something, but they let them do it last year.
didn't change nothing from last year. I just think they could have done it a little sooner to give these
Mhm.
opportunity to fix this stuff or change stuff. They just shut them down. So I think that has to be addressed, the timing of this stuff. You know what I mean? And I don't know who can address that. I mean, they don't, the fire inspector doesn't work for us, he works for you, so nothing I can do about it. You know, I don't agree with some of the stuff that they've done. And, so I just think that it should be addressed.
All right, Mike.
I received a call about a week and a half ago from somebody from Shoreland with that very same concern. So they knew about it. And I heard 3 or 4 weeks ago about the one across the way was aware of it. So if they came out today and shut them down, they were aware, they've been aware of this for a while. It didn't just happen today.
Well, some of this stuff, like I said, I just get
Yeah.
called today.
I understand. But no, nobody's looking to cause harm or anything, but they've been aware of it. They've all known, and like I said, a good friend of mine is involved with Shoreland, and he called me, we had a long conversation about it. And I explained to him, you know, the reasoning, rationale. And then he told me, well, Racine doesn't do it. Well, Racine does do it. And I didn't do my own investigation, but I've been told by staff that there's only one place in the state, and that's up in the North Woods, that doesn't follow this code. So, I mean, it's not like we're picking on anybody or trying anybody out. We're just trying to keep people safe.
And the time, the,
I understand.
yeah, and we don't, you know, we don't have, I mean, I don't have control over when they go out to inspect. It's when you get a call and, but I understand your dismay here. I don't have an answer of that.
I just wanted to bring it to your attention.
I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Some people.
Thank you. Jody Hafman?
I know just who you talked to, I'm Jody, I work in the show and feature booth at the fair. Yes, I agree. No, they talked to us, but they never said we had, according to Al, and that's who you're talking about, is we were never told that we had to put something like that. There is this, like last year, they let us put, I think they had to put foil on the walls. You know, you protect it from fire. And that was good enough. And all of a sudden this year, like Randall was saying, 2 days before the fair, they're saying that we can't do it. We have to fry outside. And to me, in my eyes, behind our building is real busy. It's a walkway. And to me, it's more dangerous to fry outside. You know, you got people walking through, you know, same thing. Another thing too, you got cords running outside on the lawn, run power out there. Well, what happens if there's a little crack in the wire that nobody sees and someone steps on the electric? That's just as bad. I mean, you know, to me, worse than letting us do like we did in umpteen many years, fry inside of our building. I mean, has the codes changed?
No.
Okay.
I'm,
They let us do in the past. Why are they stopping it now? I think that's a fair question, and that's kind of my question about this whole thing. I mean, we ordered all this stuff to fry for the fair on Wednesday. Now we can't do it. That's that much more revenue that we're losing being a nonprofit to supply athletics, you know, whether it be uniforms or whatever. We're all that much extra money now besides. You know, and then we got to return everything now.
well, since you mentioned Al, yes, I did talk to Al several times now. And what I was told, he was told, and Al told me, this is what he was told. To fence off that area and protect it from outside traffic. That solves the issue of kids running there or anybody else. You can still fry outside, but you've got a private area that is for your fryer. And I'm not going to go into it, but I'll reiterate my conversation with Al. I'd rather, we're looking out for the safety of everybody who goes to that fair. If that building were to catch fire, it'd be hell. It'd be a nightmare. So things that got let go in the past that got overlooked or whatever, we're trying to bring this village into a much safer environment overall, everywhere.
To me, it's like I work at Chick-fil-A. It's almost like you're trying to bring restaurant quality inside of a building that's going to be used 5 days. Is that fair? To pay for, to put in what you're requesting, I don't know how many thousands that's gonna cost, and we probably couldn't even get that paid for through that, at that fair in 5, 10 years. And we don't have that kind of fluid money unless the county wants to help us put something in.
Well,
You
I
know,
understand what you're saying, and I don't know the usage of the building. I don't know how often it's used or what, I don't know any of that. And it's really, it doesn't matter to me if you use it every day or one time a year. But the problem is, the subject has come up in different areas over the last year, probably, different businesses, different, what we're looking at, what we as a board, 7 of us are looking at is the safety of 20,000 residents and the protection of 20,000 residents, plus the safety of 50 or 60 or 70,000 visitors that go to that fair. We have to look at the whole big picture, and I understand your position, I really do. If I had a temporary structure that you use, I would do that, but why can't you just put the fire outside under a tent and cook outside and bring them in?
We personally think it's more of a hazard having it outside. And the other thing, why, let me see if you can answer me this question. Why did you wait till today to tell us that we can't do it while we've done in the past?
Okay,
No, we
you
can't.
just mentioned, Al and I had a conversation. Okay, so obviously this came up prior to today. It didn't just happen
Yeah,
today.
but
Al and I had,
did you see it had to be put in before we could do it this year?
I wasn't that part of that conversation, but according to what Al told me, he was a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, he called me, we had a long conversation. And and I talked to staff, I talked to people. They came back, and this is what the fire department and everybody wants. It's not this board. It's, we have no jurisdiction over, the fire department. They're under a civil service commission. But it didn't just happen today. If you just found out today, I apologize but Al's known for a week and a half, 2 weeks or whatever, that he called me. So it doesn't just pop up today and now what we're going to do tomorrow. I empathize with your situation, but the problem is 7 of us are looking out for our liabilities and all the fairgoers. So and why we let it go all these years? I can't test that. I can't.
And maybe you can answer this. Was Al told back then we had to put it up? According to Alex, I just got off the phone before I came here.
Okay.
He says nobody came down and told him that we, even in the past, that we had to have it up this year, put in there this year.
It wasn't an issue of the hood being up. You don't have to have a hood.
Just a minute, Ron.
Don't put a hood if you don't want to,
Okay, or
but you can't fry in there without it.
Let's say stainless, whatever you're talking about.
Well, yeah,
My point is, that should have been brought up, told them that before you can fry in your building this year, that should have been told last year, next year,
We have-
shut up.
Well, we have a different fire inspection now.
we have a new inspector.
But that's not, no, I mean from last year. And if it went through last year,
We have a different fire inspector, but we still have the same standards. And that's all we're trying to do is we're following an NFPA code. And that's what we have to do with it. Now, I've got a question for you.
we did have it last year.
A lot of people come to the board and sort of tell us that we're not doing the right thing. But we're following an NFPA code for this. And if we came to you last year and we approved something, and we are damn lucky nothing happened. Damn lucky if nothing happened.
You say the last, how many years, 20, 30 years?
Yeah, but how old is the building?
I don't know how long the building
The
was.
point I'm trying to make is that every year, those buildings degrade, and to a point that it's probably 30 years old by now. Well, how many, we don't know what condition those buildings are in for potential fire hazard, but we do know that having a open fire and a broiler, or excuse me, a fryer there is a hazard. Well, we've given you an option of what to do, and that's to have in a dedicated area outside of the building in order to do this frying. So my question to you is, what should we do? Let you continue on this hazardous pathway? Or should we come up with a solution that allows you to have an area in the back that's fenced off? Doesn't have to be elaborate. You can go to many fairs and see, what they use as fencing on it. Or having that so that it's safer for people that, if you had a fire that spilled oil, what happens?
It's on the cement floor.
It's what?
There's a cement floor underneath it, so.
But that oil is highly
Okay.
But
flammable.
that oil is very flammable.
One last thing.
Wait, well, Ron has something and then we have to go on.
Clearly answer your question, but what I would like to see, like, They see it last year. Okay, guys, normally let's do it this year. Next year, we have to have it to NFPA standards, you know.
Okay, what if we were to do this? And I'm just spitballing here, folks. And I'm on camera, so you guys can all look back at it anytime you want. What if we told you that now you'd have to have a $2 million insurance policy just on your building?
We wouldn't open.
Pardon?
We wouldn't open, we'd be done.
What do you think the liability would that be? Is if we are the ones that say, go right ahead, put up your, do what you've been doing. We know it's a hazard. We're on videotape saying it's a hazard. And we allow you to do it. So where would the people go to if they have a problem out there? If you have a fire out there, if you've got any type of incident out there that has to do with this fryer, who would they go after?
I mean, it could be almost anything. It could be electrical, it could be anything, you know.
Well, we could do a lot of it, couldn't, so just,
But we're moving forward. Ron had something and then Mike and we're going.
Fire chief, was there ever a violation written on this?
There were violations written on it. There's also several discussions with the fair manager as well as Mr. Fuller. And told him that he had to cook outside this year. We would no longer allow them to cook inside and produce grease-laden vapors.
So basically, they knew this 2 weeks ago or whenever the inspection
It
was.
was longer than 2 weeks ago, but it was probably a month ago, 2 months ago.
Mike, and now we're
one
gonna
last
move
thing
on.
to say is,
If I may, it surrounds the grease-laden vapors. So you got the equipment, it's not, that presents a hazard in and of itself. It's the grease-laden vapors. And it's really where the way NFPA addresses that.
Well, let me just say this, as far as the NFPA code, this is for the perfect world, okay? If everybody followed this, then the world will be perfect.
No, excuse me, Mr.
Oh, okay, we're,
It's not for the
okay,
perfect
all right, we're not
world.
gonna, we're,
Everyday world.
okay.
Illegal.
It's in every,
It's not
NFPA
illegal.
covers everyday instances.
Mike, and then we're gonna move on.
let's not say to your comment, well, you've done it for 20 years or whatever. We all know in January, we're gonna have a new sheriff in town. And I'll guarantee you, there'll be changes with the new sheriff. And the law is not gonna change, but the way it's administered is going to change. I guarantee you to some degree. And that's kind of where we're at now. We've got a new fire inspector who's taking his job very seriously, trying to follow the book and trying to keep everybody safe, not just a group or a crowd or whatever, trying to keep everybody safe. So that's, I'm sorry it's come down this way, but we can't give dispensation for
Right.
certain things.
And I do emphasize, but being that it's been a few weeks, even though that's still short of time, but it doesn't make it right, I guess you could say, You didn't have to do it before, doesn't mean that you shouldn't have had to do it before. All right, with that, citizens' comments are closed. And we're going to move on to presentations, petitions, communications, other agency reports. Number one, resident Michael L. Agna, request to review use of the UTV and ATVs on the Village of Salem Lakes roads. Come on up.
Good evening, everybody. Thanks for letting us have an opportunity to discuss this. I brought my friend and mentor in the UTV world with me that has has been promoting the sport here in southwest Wisconsin, from Palmyra all the way down to here. And he's been helping me understand, what are some of the best practices when looking at trying to grow this sport and family sport within the community for transportation here in our village. So he has a very wealth of knowledge, and even in discussing with him different codes of conduct or rules of the road regulations that other villages have installed or set up with allowing these vehicles to be used. Was the basic request of this meeting. Not looking to get answers today. We just wanted to kind of present ourselves and kind of move this forward down the road. We knew the golf carts are just 2 months in, I think, with the approval and everything. And that took a little bit of time from the research that I looked into. So if it takes that amount of time to get everyone happy and comfortable with the right standards to put this forth, so be it. So David has some packets, I could hand them out for you. So these are actually ordinances. Okay. So my name is David Pearson. I'm actually the founder of SWRE. It's called Southeastern Wisconsin Riding Enthusiasts. We started this last spring in order to try to get other communities opened up for the concept of having UTVs and ATVs using the roadways that we have our vehicles use at the same time. We do have well, I can tell you that Jefferson County, all of Jefferson County pretty much is open except for a couple of municipalities like Lake Mills, the city is not yet. They are being worked on. I just found out that the city of Jefferson is actually looking at expanding. They have one route that goes right on through, so you can get from one side of the county to the other side. We are also working with the last township that we're working with is Koshkonong. They are the last one that has not actually come on board, but they're in the process of writing their own ordinance. I can tell you that Waukesha County, where we're working on with there, we just had the Village of Eagle. They just opened up their streets. They actually opened theirs to ATVs, UTVs, and golf carts to share at the same time. The township actually meet with them on Wednesday night of this week in order to present them with a packet and everything also. It is something that is it's the fastest growing recreational sport in the state of Wisconsin. It is growing so fast that it's 3 times what we have for snowmobiles, horseback riding, any of that kind of stuff that you can imagine. It's outgrowing that fast. We are trying to open up the areas in order to bring in commerce into the areas. So say you actually own your own and you would normally take your vehicle out to whatever restaurant that you pay right now. I'm not sure each one is on an approved road right away or approved road that we would figure out. But instead of taking your car, it's no different than if you were to take if you're a motorcyclist, you would take your motorcycle this way. It's us that we're actually taking our UTVs and ATVs. Fortunately for me, I live in the village of Palmyra. The village of Palmyra is open, the township of Palmyra is open. I'm able to actually back out of my driveway and I can go all the way to File Line. So it is that much that is open and that big of a sport that is going on right at the moment.
But it's not a sport if you're riding on the road.
Well, it is and it ain't. So there are some of the clubs in the areas that do have off-road trails, like Ellenville. They actually have a farm that's next to them that's 600 acres that they have about 4.5 miles of trails on that farm. Of course, you have to belong to these different clubs in order to take on the dirt. But this is more for the general person that doesn't have a club in their area to be able to enjoy their sport and not have to drive 3 hours north in order to get on there, in order to put miles on. They do make road tires that are worthy of the road. They're A-plies, so they've already thought of this. It's not the soft tire that you get when you first buy them off the showroom floor. Of course, you do have to upgrade to them, so it isn't going to hurt our roads at all. So if you have any questions or anything, and we also, if you look at the packet on the bottom there, I put a SKU on there that you can click on that, and that is our website in order to give more. And if you would like to check out anything else, now there are other clubs, and I don't think there is any. There is All Seasons, which is based out of Walworth County for the Elkhorn area, and that I don't believe that they have a website set up, but ours would be the most updated one.
Rock concert, 140 decibels.
Well, it was something that I wanted you guys to understand that.
Okay.
Those were some of the concerned questions that we've had asked. So we did some research and put, of course, other things in there for you to kind of look at. To give it
So you just gave us a general, like the hours of operation. That was just something that some other people, some other communities are doing. Okay.
Well, the hours of operation, that is one thing that we really want to try to stay at the same. So that when you go from community to community, you know that the roads like up by us, they close at 10 o'clock. You better have your ass home, or the DNR, the local sheriff or whatever can actually penalize you for being out after hours. So
Okay,
The town of East Troy just opened and their hours are 11 o'clock because they have some people that were in there. There's so many little lakes around there that they like to ice fish, that they wanted to be able to come off the lake at 10 o'clock and be able to ride home to their stands.
okay. Does anyone have any questions?
I don't.
We will consider this and, Mike?
Yes, sir.
Excuse me, I didn't catch your name.
Michael Agna.
Michael?
He's on, yeah, he's on the agenda.
Can I call you Mike?
Yeah.
Mike, do you live in Salem Lakes?
Yes, I do.
How long have you lived here?
13 years.
Okay. Are you?
2 Rottweilers and a happy family.
Good for you. Have you ever, do you keep up on current events, board meetings and things like that? Do you know what has gone on in this village and before that?
The history of this topic
Yeah,
or just in general?
this topic.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, that's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, no, I know it's, look, anything that is an extracurricular activity that's gonna potentially put people at risk or harm, whether it's boating or side-by-siding, there's always challenges in life when you look at doing those things. And even if you look at like registration, when I go to put my boat in the chain of lakes, it costs me 20% more than the guy from Illinois to put his boat in. And I live 3 miles from putting my boat in the lake. But I pay it and I take my chances. I keep my safety gear on the boat and everything. It's the regulations to be on a waterway safely. No different than if we look at what do we have to do for this topic to keep vehicles in the community safe? Lights, rear view mirrors, the orange slope, the triangles. Okay. And then, speed limits, the time frame, things like that, that would be main topics if you look at the different areas that have that passed.
For you, sir, and what is the furthest south county that this is legal right now, close to us, going from here north? What's the furthest south close?
Walworth.
Walworth.
So there is actually Sharon, and the village of Sharon and Walworth that is actually open. And we just opened the town of East Troy, that's also Walworth.
But not the whole county.
At the whole county, we are working with the county actually to open the whole county.
Okay.
It takes a little bit more because they got the safety directors and all that we have to meet with individually in order to get it brought up to the actual county board.
Well, just to be clear, about 4 or 5 years ago, we danced around this, and trustee Kamick and I kind of led the charge on it, and I was 110% in favor. I still am if we could do it. I have UTV, 2 ATVs on my property. I would love to be able to get on it, and I'm not going down that road again. But we floated this boat once, and it wasn't pretty, so.
Well, I think things are a little bit different now than what they were then.
I'll bet you
We actually
not.
have the state has revamped the ordinance that they've wrote.
Okay.
So if you look in there, that ordinance that we actually have in our ordinance that you would be referencing to. So there are some things that have changed since 4 or 5 years ago.
I'm gonna read all of what you got and check with this. Trust me, I will do the homework on it, but
Let me know and I can get you on anything that you want on our website too. All you have to do is email me right through the website.
Do any of these, David, do any of these communities offer a referendum for this kind of use?
Well, we have LaGrange right now is going to referendum in November. That's the only one that I got that I know is going to. Oh, I take it back. And the town of Troy is going, but the town of Troy, they already pretty much said that they're going to pass it. They're just doing it as a I don't know, some type of thing because the chairman is not running again, and he wants to make sure that he covers his P's and Q's for not saying that we put this in at the last moment kind of thing. So he wants to make sure that the community knows. I just happened to notice that when I was coming down 50, that it is 14,000 people in this community now, that we're not just talking about Trevor and Wilmont and Silver Lake. I know I used to work in this area, so I know this area very well. We are talking about a greater area. And so I do see the concerns, and I understand that there might be some areas that you don't want the use, but we sign those areas to keep them out. And the people that are in those areas would know that they can't have or would be able to. I'm not sure exactly how you did your golf cart ordinance, but would be, I'm guessing, probably in a similar manner, that there's some areas that would and some. I can tell you the stepping stone that we're working on right now is with Waukesha County, because the town of Eagle is split 3 different ways with county roads that you can't get across the road. So this one section of road is open and that section of road is open, but they can't go anywhere else unless we get off-road trails to cross straight across. So you can legally go straight across, but you can't go down the road and over unless you get it through the county to okay that. The latest county that actually just opened all their roads is Dodge County. That's why I said that we're able to go from here all the way to Fond du Lac without having to go off-road.
Would you like to have this on the cow?
So if we were to do this, oh, this is gonna involve a lot of signage, I'm assuming, correct?
Yes. I can tell.
Does the DNR recommend it or the state recommend? Does anybody recommend signage?
We recommend the signage,
Yeah.
absolutely, because we get too many people going the wrong direction.
Thanks, Dave.
So, and that's one of the problems that's part of the reason that Jefferson County, when they opened the roads, they opened them 100% right off the bat, because they seen the problems that Dodge County was having. Dodge County only opened little segments and people were going the wrong direction, even though there's a sign up there, they're like, well, it's only 300 yards down to another thing. So, and that's kind of what happened in Dodge County. And the great thing was is Jefferson County was already open for about a year. And they were able to talk to Paul, the sheriff of Jefferson County, to see what kind of problems that they've had in the past or anything. So that's what actually was able to get them to open up their roads 100%. And they've only been open for about 2 months. So, and I know at the moment, nothing actually has really changed.
Mr. Dunn, you had a comment?
Yes, ma'am. Anthony Dunn, 409 Deer Court. The population density in Silver Lake, I don't think is conducive to ATVs, UTVs being operated on the road. We just went to golf carts and the rules and regulations on the golf carts haven't even been followed. We've got kids, underage kids, 12, 11, 10 years old, operating golf carts on the road, getting yelled at by these kids. When I'm driving my own vehicle on the road legally, these vehicles aren't even supposed to be on the road. UTVs, ATVs, I think, like I said, the population density over there is not conducive to that. And I'm totally, that's not against all of it. Well, they have too many people, too many kids that the parents believe that once you say that these are permitted out there, that's all they need to hear. They don't hear anything else.
Well, thank you. We respect that, and comments like that is what strives to make programs better with rules and regulations. And not everyone's gonna like everything in life that's allowed in legal. So we definitely respect your comment. We understand that. And anything that we try to do is gonna try and appease comments like that to make it safer than just the golf cart. So, but we understand. It's not just you, people who think like you with the same comment.
And
Okay.
isn't going to make it any better when you're having all of these.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Pat. Mike? Dan, go ahead. All right, Mike, I understand.
Not helping your cause. Right, this is not an open debate.
I have a question, but the president leads this organization tonight. She's the leader of this meeting. You are not. And I was insulted when you called upon me when the president had already called upon me. So I don't think you know the quorum, right, the decorum of this meeting. You are not the leader of it. You're here to listen. Please. You are not the leader of it. My question is, you've talked about counties. Have you gone to Kenosha County and asked about that?
We have not.
Okay. Do you know the size of the county, the population? How does it compare to some of the other counties that you're saying you have put it through?
Well, I know Kenosha County is outpopulates Jefferson County.
Right.
So
I'm sorry, I don't understand how you can come down here and tell us what to do.
I didn't tell you what to do. This isn't a suggestion and we're asking.
We pushed it through. We got it through. Those are the words that you were using about the other counties. I'm sorry, you've come here to talk to us about it and revisit it. We've already went through this in a referendum and defeated it. I'm willing to listen, but I don't want to listen to someone who has no idea what's going on down here. no idea, you don't know the population of it. You saw a sign for 14,000 people, but do you grasp how big 14,000 people are in 32 square miles? And we
I
have
do.
7 highways that goes
I
through
worked
it.
in this area for 14 years.
But
Okay,
I don't want to pick on you on this. But the name of the hamlet is Treeville. Okay?
You're right.
So your
I'm
14
sorry.
years, you may not have learned that it was Treeville.
okay, okay. Why don't, do you want to discuss this in committee of the whole?
Yes, please.
All right,
That's where it belongs.
yes, and it was brought up for that, but I just wanted him to be introduced and we'll see what he asked, what he wanted, and then that's why we go to the committee of the whole and we discuss things, more casually and not in such a setting, and you're welcome to attend that, and we will let you know if you would like, so.
I would absolutely like to.
Okay, and it should be, I'm thinking actually for October or September, that I would like the committee of the whole the same day as the monthly, this month.
That's fine. That would be good. That would be good.
And right now, that would be the only thing on it for the committee of the whole so far. So that would be the second Monday in September,
Right, the first Monday in September is Labor Day.
right? Okay, so yeah,
Our regular meeting's at 12, so.
We're going to have a committee of a whole on this subject.
we are to decide it as a board, unless you want to decide tonight, guys, you have that opportunity.
Not up on the agenda.
not on the
as
agenda.
Action items.
Okay,
Let's discuss.
discussion,
Let's go
okay,
around. And you're welcome to come to our meeting, committee only.
all right.
Apologies for not understanding. It's my first time ever coming and speaking in front of a group. I'm new.
It's fine.
You did
My
fine.
apologies.
You did
No
fine.
It's fine.
disrespect.
No, none taken. It's fine. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, and we'll let you know then. All
Okay,
right,
sounds good. Thank you.
thank you. Mr. Barheit, you're up. Zoning related issues, properties located at 11214 and 11220 260th Avenue. Make believe it's there, Billy. You don't need it. You don't need it, Billy. You can do well without.
We're having a big problem with my company, my parents, our company, my dad's and mine. Little backstory, most of you know me, some of you don't. My family's been doing business on this property since the 30s on the main one, and since 1957 on the second piece right next to it. One of the original property owners, my father's still on the property, still lives there, along with the garage. The second piece of property was bought in 1957 from my family, and also to expand the business from, at that time, we were grading and blacktopping and everything, and we expanded more into excavating on our side. So we've been on these properties forever. Done a lot of business with the town, not so much with the village, with the town. Done a lot of business. You've known I've been there forever. We've been paying personal property taxes on our equipment since as far back as they got records. And records only go back to 1980. I hear the town has a couple, we got a few more years. We've been paying personal property taxes on everything. We've been an established business before you guys even had zoning evidently, because we can't find any records. You guys have no records that will pass something like 70 something. Right now, you're trying to push me off my property. I've gotten $2,500 for the tickets. And,
We're not trying to push you off the
oh, yes,
property.
you are. Oh, yes, you are. You don't want my company there anymore.
We-
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Talk to the staff.
I've talked to staff, Bill. I've talked to every member of the staff that you
That's
talked to, and I've gotten our side of it.
Okay, continue our
I've got
side.
Our side of it.
I'm sorry, Bill, continue.
Go ahead.
All right. I just want, the trees grew up since COVID. I didn't use a bunch of my stuff. I was basically using 2 or 3 pieces. Trees grew up. I started cleaning up when the town started cleaning up behind us. When the village, I'm sorry, I'm gonna call it town. The village.
That's quite all right.
The brush grew up, the trees. I was cleaning up and then ordinance officer come because somebody complained across the street because some other people complained because they were putting garbage on the road. So Anyhow, got a bunch of tapes. 30 days, he says, you're not going fast enough. I said, I want to quit it. How to sell on both properties. In 60 days, he started giving me the fines and all that other stuff. That's besides the point.
When did that start?
Last year.
Okay.
Anyway, back then, 95, I found out we weren't zoned correctly. Somehow our business had to be business. We've been business there forever. Anyhow, in 1995, I got only 4 copies of this, so you guys got to kind of share
Pass
it.
it on.
You know what?
Yep. I know the backstory, so I'm good. You can give it to the
I'll
other
take
board
it.
members.
Don't waste paper on me.
I attempted to go through the channels in 95.
Okay.
Went in front of the planning zone. Told my story, all voted for it. If you see in there. Okay, went up to the town board. They all, you guys all voted for it. Got sent to Kenosha. Mr. Phillips said, all right, we're passing this through. Not his exact words. If there's a problem, the county will get hold of it. County never got hold of it. Thought it was a done deal. Usually when both the planning and the town boards vote for it, all 5 on each team, it usually passes through county. Never sent a word. I figured it was all done. Then went back to do the other piece in 2003. And they gave me information. I gave them some information back. Don't know what happened with that either. That was through the county. So anyhow, you guys are attempting to push me off my property. Don't want nothing on my property.
Business related.
Yes, well, what else am I gonna do? It's my business. We've been there forever. Longer than anybody here has been alive.
Now, you said
Yes.
50 you said 57, correct?
No, that's 57 I won, 1930s.
Reason for.
You weren't alive in 1930s.
No, I was not.
Okay, my dad's 92, so
So what was 57? You mentioned 57. I missed something somewhere. What was 19?
57 is the lot next to it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
All right, we have the main business lot, then we have the other part of the business.
Okay.
So what happened in 1995 when it says that you had asked for a rezoning map amendment from R4 to B1 to operate the excavating business? And it was approved, recommended approval from the planning and zoning. Town board request.
Nobody ever got in touch with me. You guys even.
Did you rezone?
Nobody said nothing.
You were at the meeting.
Did you follow up with anybody here?
Yes.
Well, what happened?
From here, it goes to the county.
Right.
Right.
Okay. Did you
And
go to
it-
county?
Yes.
And what
They were
happened?
doing it.
So, all right.
That was a done deal.
All right. So who dropped the ball?
Don't know. I'm trying to figure out who stuck their fingers in it and did it.
Well, whose ball was it to drop?
Well, you guys sponsored it.
No. We don't sponsor that stuff.
You did sponsor that.
No, we don't
No,
sponsor.
we don't sponsor things.
It comes to us and we recommend to the county in those days. Now we don't have county
I
zoning,
know you don't.
but
We approve or does not approve or recommend and I don't recommend, but we don't sponsor anything. We didn't sponsor any. I guarantee we didn't. I've read those.
Sponsored.
I've read those. But the bottom line, Billy, you say somebody dropped the ball. Well, whose ball was it to drop? It was your ball.
Nobody told me there was a problem.
But did you ever go find out? Did it get passed?
I asked the town. They said the county will get in touch with you. Nobody ever got in touch with me. We had a pretty rough 95, but nobody got in touch with me if there was any information.
So for 27 years, you just sat there and didn't talk to anybody and say,
You go up to the county says, you don't even have to do this. Your grandfather, I don't know if they use the word grandfather. We're not gonna bother you. You've been there too long. And they have never, ever, ever said anything to us.
Did they give you any documentation that they grandfathered you in?
No,
so bottom line,
but it was never voted on at the, that's what they're fighting for. It was never voted on at the county.
well, if it had
Yay or
been,
nay?
there'd be a record, correct?
right.
Wouldn't there be a record of it if it had been
Right.
voted on?
It was, yes.
It's not. I've got all the records. They never voted on it, yes or no.
Okay, so you're a contractor,
Mhm.
okay? If I called you up, said, Billy, I want you to do a job for me, come out to the house, look it over, give me a price, and you come out, and you say, okay, Mike, I'll get back to you next week. If 27 years go by, and you don't get back to me, I would think that you don't want to do the job. I would think you didn't care. So why is it the villages, the towns, and the county's fault that something did not happen and you didn't follow up on it? Why is it our fault?
Like, oh, well,
It's not.
why is it not? Why am I not grandfathered in? Why are you doing this now?
Because we don't grandfather.
Why?
Because it's not the way things are done. It's not the way our ordinance is written. It's not the way we do things. I don't think it was the way we did things 27 years ago. I didn't live here then, but I'm about to guarantee you, the bottom line is you started a process, got it so far, and just went, oh, that's fine, I'm gonna go home. And it never got done. You never got the proper zoning.
But if you did get the proper zoning, let's say, you couldn't have the houses. You couldn't have a house on it with the excavating business.
Well, see, that's pretty screwed up because everybody that has that type of business, small business like that, lives on the property. You're not going to find too many that doesn't live on the property.
It must be a different zoning.
That was one of the problems.
David?
What it was exactly zoned at.
So what he has to have is he has to have B5 zoning for that type of excavating business. There is no residential allowed in B5 zoning. So if he wants his property rezoned to B5 and the zoning board and the village board approves it, he has to meet the current standards of a B5 zoning. That type of business that he's talking about is not allowed in B2 zoning, period. We can't make it a B2 because excavating business is not allowed in a B2.
What about B1?
To make it clear, I have to make it very, very clear that I think it was 11 or 13 tickets, and Mr. Boyd can correct me if I'm wrong. Only 2 of them had to do with a zoning issue. The other were property maintenance, dilapidated buildings, junk vehicles.
Didn't have any junk vehicles. I have a dump truck that's been there since 1973, licensed, but you can't have a license, you can't have a dump truck over that weight on the property.
So again, that's my take on it. Again, he wants to argue about the zoning. The tickets were issued over property maintenance, which was not allowed in any district.
Correct.
Business.
The request in 1995 was from an R4 to a B1.
Whatever, it was.
That's what it says.
And whatever it needed to take it to do what we had to do.
And it was approved, but it never went any further. So what's a B1? He can't have a house on it yet.
B1 he can, but B1 does not allow for that type of business.
Well, B1 isn't allowed. So it wasn't even proper. It wasn't proper anyway in 95.
That is correct.
Now, we don't have any, do we have any record of this coming to the, other than the planning and zoning?
We have the village board minutes where it was approved, I believe, but the problem was at the time, he come directly from what I gathered, and this is just from asking some questions. He comes straight to in 1995, all the way through to 2017. You had to go to the county and apply for a zoning change.
Mm-hmm.
They give you the paperwork, they give you everything you needed to supply. Then you come to the village, to the zoning board. They made a recommendation to the town board. The town board made a recommendation to the county board to approve or deny, based on what all the information was. The problem was he comes straight to the zoning board, never went to the county.
Yes.
And started the process. I'll let you speak, now let me finish. So he did that. He comes straight to it. So the county had no records. There was nothing followed other than a recommendation from the town board and a recommendation from the zoning board, but they had no records of him ever applying or doing it. The county never heard this. The county never heard for a zoning change because there was no records other than some board meeting minutes and some zoning meeting minutes in regards to it.
Read on.
Okay.
While she's reading, Billy, I've lived in this town now village since 97. And shortly after I moved here, people started asking me, what's up with that? Meaning your business, your place. And since I've been on the board, I've had, not every year I get 2 or 3 people. They go, what is with that? I've never said anything. I've never, ever uttered a word to anybody until this all started boiling up. As far as I'm concerned, live and let live. But we, the village staff, have been getting complaints. So once we get complaints, now we have to do something, okay?
You had a complaint from the gal across the street.
I don't know who it came from. I can't tell you who it came from. I just know because I'm intimate with the staff. We talk to all of them all the time. I want to know what's going on. So I know, but I know we've been getting complaints, whether it's across the street, next door, up the street. I don't know, and I really don't care. But the fact is, we're getting complaints now. So much like everything else, if you had mice in your house and you liked them, that'd be fine. But somebody else bought the house and had mice, they'd want them eradicated. It promised it's become a village. We as a village are trying to clean up the whole village overall. We've knocked down houses in the past. We've done things. We're trying to address things that have been festering for a lot of years. And nobody's picking on you. Nobody's throwing off your property. Nobody's singling you out. It's and it's 2 years, I think, we've been dealing with you on this, I think, right, Mike? 2 years? Okay.
But it was, okay, I got the letter that we approved it from the planning and zoning, from Tony Seitz and from Jen Antoon. And it went to the county, but that we don't have anything from the county other than that you visited him.
There's a lot of paperwork missing. I don't even know where it is.
So it was enclosed herein are the minutes from the planning and zoning, our planning and zoning minutes, which went to the county. But I don't have anything that said the county, represented any of this issue at all.
Site sent it to the county.
Right, I see that. And Jan,
In 2003,
2003, you went to visit.
and then I sent them the paperwork back, still no word.
Okay, so it kind of was
And
dropped,
he retired,
Russ.
so I can't get him.
And the minutes would be there if they're there.
In 93, when that
The
was
minutes
going
would
on,
still be there.
95.
in 95, well, you said 93, but whenever.
203.
Okay, well, all right, whatever year you want. The ball was dropped. Okay? It's not incumbent on this board to go pick up all the pieces and put them back together for you. If you've got documentation, if you've got paperwork, if you got whatever, please let us see it and we'll look at it. But obviously, we don't have that.
If you look in the 203 one,
Mm-hmm.
it says I had all that information you gave to. Where it went from, they went from there to here is gone.
Then what did you do with it?
I have to find mine.
Okay, you got to find yours, but we got to go look for ours. That's not fair.
Yes.
That's not right.
But I gave it all the information they required of me.
The onus is
That
on
is
you.
right.
Okay, the only thing that I would think, and I don't know how they're gonna okay it, because our planning and zoning goes by the book. If you have a residential houses, I know you got 2 houses on 2 parcels, and I saw your backyard and I saw your front yard.
Yeah, you saw it with the pictures.
No, I was there today.
Okay.
I went there today.
Yeah, it's work in progress because I'm selling a bunch of stuff. I'm thinning out stuff I don't use very much. That's everything that's in front.
I can't say what the planning and zoning board would do because I'm not on the planning and zoning. But I don't think that they would give the same recommendation that was in 1995. That kind of didn't go anywhere. We cannot, if it had passed through the county and then
If it passed through the county, we wouldn't be here.
right. So it didn't.
Well, it didn't get voted on either way.
Okay, so it didn't.
Nobody contacted me to talk to people.
Dennis,
Did you have, excuse
But
me,
even if it was-
representation at any point in time on this process? Would they have any documentation?
When I was doing this, no.
go ahead, Dennis.
Even if you do find the paperwork, it's for a B1,
Right.
which doesn't accommodate an excavating
Well,
business
if
that
you
has to
look
be
in the
defined.
minutes, look in the minutes from the planning and zoning, are they in that one?
I did.
R4 to B1.
It also
From
says
an R4 to
whenever it's
B1.
needed. See what we're.
Okay, but it didn't go through, so this is null and void. If this had,
You're gonna try and shove me off, because then you're gonna spend lawyers, I'm gonna spend lawyers, it's gonna be a pain in the ass. They attempted to do it by moving me 6 inches off my property onto the town property, which I tried to buy before we turn into a village.
So now let me clarify that.
So what the warrants would be.
So what we did, I worked with Rich and we drafted a letter.
So he wants a map
Through the
amendment.
zoning, we did talk to the chairman of the zoning and a couple of zoning board members. There is no way that business, and again, I'm not sure if you looked at it, at the amount of equipment and stuff that's over there. It's a lot, still a lot by there today, a lot of stuff in a residential. So we tried to figure out, let me finish, please.
Okay.
We tried to figure out a way, and we talked about we're trying to throw him off his business, throw him off his property and throw him out of business, which is just silly nonsense. What we did was, we own the property behind him. It's the old highway garage. It's a piece of land that we bought many years ago, 20 years ago, we bought an acre of land that abuts his property. We tried to lease him and the board hadn't approved it. We were trying to come up with an agreement to work with him to keep his business there. And lease him, I don't know, it was a few hundred square feet on our institutional property. So he could store his excavating equipment, keep his father, keep the residences where they are. And basically said, no, he wasn't interested in doing it. So for him to stand here and say to this board that we are not willing to try to work with him is untrue and an unfair statement. We have spent numerous time and effort, all staff, I believe our clerk Shannon Hahn went way above and beyond to find the records that wasn't even mentioned within some of his open record requests and was able to dig them up on her time to help him find this stuff. We have done just about everything we can do, and to stand here and say that we are trying to do this again. I believe it was 11, possibly 13 tickets. There were 2 of them had to do with the zoning of the excavating equipment being on a residential property. The rest were property maintenance. John called me 2 weeks ago and asked me about the situation because, moving machines from one property to another property right there, it still is non-compliant. And I told him to issue a 30-day notice and we're going to reissue the citations. Again, we have tried, we have spent enough. Did I stop talking? Have we finished everything that we can do? We have offered through the request of Kim Bruning and some of the zoning board members and tried to come up with something that workable. But the excavating business, the garbage and the trash and the pipe-up stuff just cannot not be there. That's not allowed in any district that we have within the village.
Can I ask why you didn't go with the property
Here's
behind?
what it is. Move it 6 inches off my property.
Yeah,
Okay?
yep,
To use the property, I have to fence that up.
yep.
I can't leave it dirt, it'll rot everything. So I put some gravel under that. So that'd be $10,000 for a 1-year lease. At least $10,000 for a 1-year lease.
But the lease was $1, right, Mike?
We didn't even come up with a price.
I never heard $10,000 for a year for a lease.
No, he's talking about the
It costs
fence.
me to do it.
All right, so what if we give you a 10-year lease? Then it's
That's
$1,000 a
something
year.
else. They didn't want to do anything. Why don't you want to make this real good? Let's sell, and I'll tell you another story that will relate to this. 1985, thereabouts, my grandfather approached me. Here, I want to give you this piece of property. You know what that piece of property was? Your town garage, right to the side of it. You know where all the bins are and everything?
Mhm.
That was my family's.
Well, why didn't you take it?
Because you guys, when I talked to my grandfather's always been real keen with the town. So have I. I've always worked good with the town. What's that laugh for?
I find it amusing.
Oh, it's pretty amusing you are too.
Well, thank you very much, Billy.
Yeah,
Go right ahead.
I tried to attempt to ask, you, but never mind. Anyhow,
What?
No,
I
no,
tried to attempt to talk to you before.
let's just keep it civil, guys.
So my grandfather and I talked. He goes, I told my grandfather, what is the town gonna do? You didn't have nothing. All you owned was the 2 buildings, the square little piece. You don't own the back yet. I said, they needed more than we do, don't they? I says, yeah. He says, yeah, they got nothing good. You stored all your stuff on our property for, and you should look up in your records. From about 69, you guys used that property.
Okay,
So you
Okay,
bought
so
it
there was
in
an
85.
agreement that was made
okay,
40, 50 years ago And it was all done with a handshake. And I'm asking our attorney now to speak up because I think we're probably way off target. We're talking
No,
about.
I'm getting to
something not
this.
on the agenda.
This has some importance here.
I want our attorney to speak.
We've heard Mr. Barhead's concerns, obviously, as a staff, they've heard those concerns previously. Perhaps we should try to find out what Mr. Barhead wants, what actually wants the village to consider tonight. So we can investigate that and see if there's a solution. So
Okay.
what are you looking for?
What do you think?
Okay,
What do you look?
I would like to, if this will save us all a bunch of money. Sell me the piece like I typed to get right behind me. I'll go back and I'll pay the $6,000, $5,000 rezoning fees. That's what it costs to rezone something. Show me that little triangle. I'll move the majority back there. I'll rezone the properties. We do it all in one pack.
See, the drawback to that will not work because the property, if he buys that property, it's not it would be a lot, not a buildable lot, so it would be landlocked. So we would have to combine it with his current parcel, which is residential. So that does not give him any.
Makes sense to me.
So, okay, so if he doesn't buy it and we lent it to him, he can do
We
it.
have institutional zoning for,
So we keep it under ours and he can use it. Or if he bought it, then it wouldn't matter because he'd have to,
residential and he would have to.
okay,
be in the same.
so that wouldn't work. Well, you know what, Billy, we're not going to come up with an answer tonight. Oh, now that we know what you want, I don't know where to go with this.
We'll start somewhere else.
Pardon?
I hate to bump heads with you. We always gotten around good. Gotten good. Try them out.
I know.
We're good with you guys forever.
Would a lease solve this problem?
We've offered it to him, but he wasn't interested. There was never a term. He never even come back to us with a 5 or a 10. We were just trying, again, the village board had.
Well, I talked to-
Is that something
Would-
might be interested in?
If we can get at least a 10, and if we can do increments on that, I don't think my son's gonna take it over. He's not really super interested, but I'm good for another 10 yet.
It seems like.
If we go to a 10, that's something, because then we're talking, I'm sticking some money in. When they said a 1-year term, and I'm gonna talk to Mr. Schultz, it was all you guys offered me was 1 year.
Well, and it wasn't even done. It was just to feel it. Yeah.
And I hate to come up like this, but this is the only way I can talk to you guys,
Okay.
For like 10 years.
at least 10. And if we can do it in increments,
You guys want
but.
You'd have to-
Not all the property I need,
We're always willing. to
I'm
talk.
downsizing.
Okay, so you need to downsize, get rid of some stuff, and you also need to.
And and back to where you guys covered, everything, I had the ordinance officer go on the properties, he okayed everything except for the equipment.
Why
That
don't,
was part of the agreement with the tickets. And another thing on your tickets, your court gives you 2 pieces of paper when you're done to file. I went through the whole thing to file. We're gonna sell a lot of this in court. Half them tickets were bogus,
okay,
easily. And
well, that,
it's hard to get the piece of paper. The 2 forms that you get when you get done with court, you get the pamphlet and you get a form. I got one.
Really, which court are you speaking of?
Town court,
Village court?
village court, I'm sorry, town village court.
Okay, but you said,
I went through this with them. They found me guilty,
okay.
fines, okay? Some of them are bogus. So
Whoa.
I went to the county.
Okay, yeah, you did, that's what my next question. So you appealed it in
To
circuit
the
court.
county.
What happened over there?
Your lawyers get proper for verbiage. I'm trying to take it so long. They had it denied.
for the court, the county, what went to the county that, because we thought.
You went to circuit court.
Okay,
Your
okay.
lawyers can.
No, what did the court
What was
say?
the word? What's the word they used?
Rich,
Thank you.
So the process is when you go from municipal court, you have to give a notice to the municipality and to the court.
This is 2 different forms. You don't get the one.
Mr. Schultz is talking.
You guys want it?
The
Billy?
form that the municipal court uses here in the.
Okay.
Salem Lake.
yes, we listened to Mr.
Form
Okay,
that's published by the Municipal Judges Association. That was the basis for that.
okay,
Okay. The law requires a notice to
prosecuting attorney on the appeal and to the court. Okay, Mr. Barnett gave the notice only to the court, not to the prosecuting attorney. The form that he was provided with his appeal notice did not make that particularly clear. Again, I'm not casting aspersions on the form since it's a model form from the Municipal Judges Association. That's the form that the court uses. We've revised it since to avoid the problem. But the law requires a specific notice. They weren't both given.
I gotta say it out loud.
So on behalf of the village, when this went to the circuit court, Mr. Egas brought a motion
Call it sometime.
to dismiss the appeal because there had not been compliance with statute. The court granted the motion. The appeal was dismissed because Mr. Barnett had not complied with statute.
Okay, so did you file a new appeal?
What?
Did you file a new appeal?
It was already gone. The lawyer said that we weren't getting anywhere.
Which lawyer?
County.
The county lawyer?
Yeah, no, yeah, my lawyer with the county. The lawyers took care of it. I just let the lawyers do it.
Who's your attorney?
Mine was Tom. I can't even pronounce his name. They got their lawyer up. Anyway, it's a done deal. You need to fix it. Anyhow, you look into 2 words. This is what they give you when you get a court. You also get the pamphlet. Says nothing about contacting the lawyers, your lawyers, which I think is stupid.
Change, Rich? You change.
My understanding is that the municipal judge, Judge Lionel, has since revised the form to address that issue. But again, the form
Where do we go from here?
that the court was using was based on the Municipal Judges Association form.
All right.
Where do we go from here? I mean, if you have
It's just 2 words. You
if
can
you want to, would you I don't know, would the board feel to reconsider using that property of ours for?
What I would ask for, obviously he's looking to get the problem solved. I believe under our ordinance, under state statute, under rules that everybody must follow, those 2, and again, he keeps referring to 2. One is the main issue, is the main house, and is, I believe, Dad still lives there. Obviously, personally, I've known Millie for 25, 30 years. I've never had an issue, so this isn't personal. We are following the rules and the ordinances that are passed by you guys.
Mhm.
All I was asking for, there is no way that I can find, and Rich is the legal guy, to legally zone that property and to allow his father to stay there as 2 residences, if he's referring to both properties. But they're not combined. It's 2 separate parcels, 2 separate homes that we cannot allow an excavating business within that zoning district. So I'm willing, and again, always, no matter what he said here today, I'm still willing to sit down and try to figure out a way. This institutional, if he's got to fit his excavator and his stuff back there, he's got to clean up the mess. He's got to get the building sided and all that done and comply with the ordinance, and I'm willing to work with this.
So lease might work. Lease might solve this problem.
It has to be at least 10. If I'm gonna stick $10,000 into that piece of property, even if I were to, when I was done to pull the fence off, and I don't see why you need a fence around it because you guys don't have a fence around it.
Mhm.
In fact, your fence that you had between your property and our property fell down, knocked my fence down. I got a ticket for that. I got a lot of tickets at their stuff.
You don't want to sit down with Mike and talk about.
I would be willing to sit down with you too.
1 year mark.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be opposed to 10
But
years.
again, now, if we're gonna sit here and have
5
a
years.
meeting and open discussion, this dishonesty is something that I'm having a struggle with. The dishonesty, Billy, I've never known of you to be a liar.
Where am I lying?
You sit down, you said you were not interested. We can talk again and we can come up with a term limit. All I said was, I do not have village board approval. We're working with our attorney in good faith to try to come up with an answer that the zoning board, the village board, and you are satisfied with.
Well, when I talked to Mr. Schultze, we talked, he said the 1 year, he said, maybe talk, and I said, I gotta go see my lawyer, because I have to go with the lawyers with you guys now.
And then you said, you never came back and said, I need more than 1 year. You said I have to talk with my attorney, which is absolutely fine. You should talk with
I
your
would
attorney.
recommend that.
But we don't know that you want additional, a longer term unless you tell us.
I really didn't want, I just want to be left alone.
I know, but you do have a lot of things that you need to clean up, Billy. I mean, you
It's
do.
all equipment.
The trailers
But-
got to go.
Yeah, I understand. When they were in, they were okay as long as they were plated. They're plated. I'm getting rid of the trailers, but 80 years, 90 years accumulation.
I know,
I'm
but
trying to
it,
sell it.
it has to stop. What do you do with that second house next to your dad?
That's another thing. My dad wants to move back there, but when he wants to move, he doesn't want to move. And he's just gonna move into it,
And what are you gonna do with his house then?
tear it down and live in it, not tear it down, but gut it and redo it because it's 1950s.
All right.
That's where I'm gonna live.
Would you be willing to sit down? I'll be willing to sit down with you
We can do the staff.
if the board is,
I'd like these guys to have a sit down and talk about a lease.
It's just,
why don't we start that, Billy, and let's start it again. Let's do
I hate to
that.
come in public like this, but the only way we can talk to you is that way.
Seems at least makes most sense, so why not sit down and talk about it?
I'm more than willing.
Let's do that in the next week.
Sure.
Okay?
Yeah, you pick a day. Oh, not this week, a couple of weeks. We get done with the fair first.
Oh, yeah, fair. Yeah, we got the fair. Go ahead, Mike, and then we're
I'm
gonna.
gonna tell you, I'm 110% in favor of working with you, what we can do. As Mr. Murdoch said, you gotta clean up the other things. You gotta clean it up.
Everything was cleaned up according to, I had an ordinance officer there. He cleaned things okay, except for the equipment. I cleaned everything up. Everything was, all it was brush. Everything in
All
your,
right, all right.
everything in your brochure, I didn't have none of.
You give some dates that you're interested in meeting. I'll be in school soon, so I mean, it has to be at 3:30, but I'd be willing, I would like to be at that. Okay?
Thank you.
All right, we'll meet. All right,
Ladies.
you do the fair and then we'll be in touch. You get in touch with us.
Yes.
Also,
Just so you're aware, the 30 days.
on a one-time shot only of cleaning it.
The order was out there. He said it was okay. Everything that was there when he said okay.
All right. All right, Bill, thank you. All right, we're moving on to planning and zoning. Okay, everybody take a breath. Discussion possible action on the following. Number one, ordinance 2022.08/55. Ordinance amending the zoning map for the village of Salem Lakes on tax parcel so noted, and this was unanimous to move forward.
To approve.
I'll second.
Mr. Hopkins and Mr. Faber. Any questions on this? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number two, a conditional use permit for Underground Solutions LLC in the B5 Wholesale Trade and Warehousing District. And this was also a unanimous vote to pass through.
Move to approve.
Second.
Faber and Kulat. Any questions on this one? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number three, ordinance 2022.08/56. An ordinance to create sections 490-9.11 and 490-11.9 of the Salem Lakes Municipal Code regarding landscape, parking, and access requirements. Freestanding signs.
Excuse me.
Go ahead.
Before we do,
Yeah.
I'd like our planner to read the executive summary, because I got a couple of calls today about this here. And I'd like it to be clear what I was told, that it's going to be very restrictive for businesses. I would like you to read it, David, go through it so the audience knows what it is we're passing, that it's actually better for business owners. We're being more liberal.
So the village staff is proposing an ordinance which amends certain provisions of chapter 490 of the zoning code relating to freestanding signs in business, manufacturing, institutional, park and recreational districts, and also add sections to chapter 490 relating to site plan reviews for commercial properties, which would allow more situational flexibility for staff members' approvals. There are many low acreage commercial properties throughout the village which are severely limited by our current requirements for landscaping and parking setbacks. The proposed ordinance would allow neighborhood and community business districts along State Highway 83, Camp Lake Road, Cogswell Drive, and Buck River Road to be significantly benefited by the additional flexibility which may be appropriate for their businesses in regards to reduced landscaping, increased access width, and reduced setbacks for parking areas. Specifically, it allows 50% reduction in landscaping requirements. And in section 490-9, access driveways with a width exceeding 35 feet and a parking area setback reduction up to but not less than 5 feet. Sections number 4 and 5 of the ordinance amend passages or zoning code which refers to signs along Interstate Highway 94. Those passages were carried over from the county, but are no longer relevant or needed in our village. The Planning and Zoning Commission made a motion to recommend approval of the ordinance, and it was approved unanimously.
Motion approved.
Seconded.
Okay, it was made by trustee Kulat to approve and seconded by trustee Campion. This- Go ahead.
Could you give me an example of where this would apply?
Sure.
On
So
Camp Lake Road?
There are pretty significant setback and landscaping requirements for commercial properties and new developments. There are many small acreage properties along Cogswell, along Silver Lake, downtown Wilmot, downtown Salem, Camp Lake, and also Treber along 83, that those small acreage lots, it would be very tough for them to meet the current requirements for parking setbacks, access, and landscaping, and still be able to,
Function.
function.
But he asked for an example. You haven't given the example yet.
A specific example?
Yeah.
A specific example,
See a business next to the stage stop or
sure, the stage stop in Wilmot or
Or
the
the
old
dancing
Nancy
studio, any places along in Wilmot, if they come in for a rezone.
where that
they
little,
get there now.
where the little restaurant used to be, for example.
Correct, they would have to go through they'd have to get a variance, which obviously costs them money, time, and a very, very long procedure to get through. And we're just trying to eliminate that because it only makes sense in a few areas.
Another good example is in downtown Salem along 83. There are several vacant lots there near Sieverts that people have called several times looking to see what they can do. And they read through our zoning code. It's too strict. They can't make it work if they're those small acreage lots. So this is something that gives them more options.
So basically, what I'm reading on here, though, this is just giving the zoning administrator and the director of public works, the acting jointly, the authority to change this.
We can
It's two
only,
people,
we can only reduce it, we can't add.
correct?
We can't add to, we can't require more than the code states, we can't require anything more.
So, but I guess my question, what are we gaining by changing this?
Flexibility.
Somebody can
We're
do a
making it-
business,
I'm gonna jump in.
put a sign out.
We've been proactively looking for businesses in this village, then town for a long time.
Mhm.
The old ordinance is very restrictive on some of these lots. This hopefully will open up some opportunities for people to come up here and open up a small business in the areas we want small businesses. When I read this, I was ecstatic. I thought it was great. And without having to come to planning and zoning and us and all the costs all the time, they can say, okay, well, we can, it's going to give flexibility to the staff to actually make things a hell of a lot better.
It has nothing to do with the existing businesses. Is that correct?
Correct. Correct.
So we have a motion made by Kulat, seconded by Campion. Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Mr. Gant
Nay.
and Mr. Hopkins?
Yep.
Motion carries. Number 4, amendment to the restrictive covenants for Rock Lake Meadows subdivision.
Motion approved.
Seconded.
Kulat and Campion. Questions on this one? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Public Works, discussion and possible action, excuse me. Number 1, payment request number 4 by Payne and Dolan in the amount of $88,469.01. And the change order number 2 in the amount of $36,390.01 from the 22 2022 street rehabilitation program.
Motion to approve. Second.
We'll go Campion and Kulat. Questions?
Yes.
Yes.
Is Payne and Dolan doing the work out there along in Silver Lake? Where we're cutting driveways? Have they corrected the mistakes yet?
I was only aware of one.
One mistake.
I went out there, when you look down the street, you're gonna see about 4 or 5.
Only one was out of square. Now some are further up and back.
When we say square though, Mike,
The
when it's at an angle,
Yeah,
okay, that's not square,
square to the road or square to the house.
either or.
So we had measured, David went out there, and I believe Paul, that went out there, and they had measured the one, and it was like you had told me on the phone, it was almost 5 inches off. So they agreed and they remarked that one to cut and square that one. And then the rest of them, I think they talked to or looked at.
I would like to go out there with someone then and let's look at it again, because I have been contacted by residents. Now, I've asked them to go through you guys.
Yeah.
Some have called before the cutting started. And when I talked to the guy who did the cutting, all he simply said was he follows the pink line. He doesn't measure it. He doesn't do anything. He follows that pink line. And that's exactly how he cut it.
Yep, absolutely. We can set it up with David. Give me a call in the morning. I'll pick it.
All right, so any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 2, payment request number 1 by Mid-City Corp. in the amount of $97,219.20 for the well number 2 and water system improvement project.
Motion approved.
Second.
Kulat and Campion. Questions on this, guys? None? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Fire and Rescue Department, discussion and possible action on the following items. Number 1, Lakeside International invoice 2055268 in the amount of $6,478.10 for the service and repairs on vehicle 5841.
Motion approved.
No second.
Kulat and Campion. Questions on this?
Nope.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Lakeside, number 2, Lakeside International invoice 2055317 in the amount of $6,704.63 for service and repairs on vehicle 5842.
Motion approved.
Second.
Kulat and Campion. Questions on this? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Clerk's office, discussion and possible action on the following items. Number 1, approval of operators licenses contingent for approval on background checks and payment for the
Motion approved.
Second.
Kulat and Hopkins. Any questions on any of these licenses?
No good to me.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. That was nice for a change. Approval of minutes for the regular board meeting on July 11th. Was there anyone at? Yes, there was somebody missing. Dennis? No?
Yeah.
Dennis?
Motion approved.
Second.
Kulat and Campion made the motion and second to approve the minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
And I abstain.
And one abstention from Dennis. Is there any nay? All right, one abstention's motion carries. Approval of vouchers of $1,008,340.86. Faber made the motion to approve. Is there a second? Was that Campion?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Any questions on the vouchers?
Question,
Yes.
on page 3 of 9,
Mhm.
we have replaced both steering gears from Siren Services.
Mhm.
Those are the steering boxes for our fire engine.
Is that 5841 or 42?
No, that's an engine. It's one of the pumpers.
Okay,
Okay.
yep.
Any other questions? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, Fire Commission meeting tentative August 22nd so far. Library board also on the 22nd. Park Commission Thursday, the September 1st. Committee of the Whole will be before the meeting on second Monday of the month, the 12th. And also the village board meeting will be on the 12th. I need a motion to move into closed session in accordance with provisions of Wisconsin State Statutes 19.85 parentheses 1 parentheses C for purposes of considering employment, promotion, consent, compensation, or performance evaluation.
So move.
For this is relative to village fire inspector. It was made by Kula to move into closed session.
I'll second it.
And okay, and it was seconded by Gant. But we also have another one for state statutes 19.85 parentheses 1 parentheses E for deliberating, and this is relative to the potential boundary agreement.
So move.
So we got Kulat and Gant. We can do one blanket on both. So Kulat and Gant for both. Cool. All right. So Ron? Yes. Ted? Dennis?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
And Dan?
Yes.
We are now in closed session. Thank you.
Before we go,
with the,
Kulat, who was it? Kulat? Who did I say? Faber. There you go. You're right. Good girls. We are now in open. Is there anybody out there yet? Consideration is, Brian, are we on? Consideration possible action on announcements. There's nothing to discuss and nothing to report. And then number 4, consideration of announcement for the second closed session. There was nothing to report. I need a motion to adjourn. Kulat. Actually, it was Hopkins. Kulat and Hopkins. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. We are now adjourned. Thank you.
Yeah.